My parents divorced when I was 1 year old. My dad went off and did his own thing and my mom raised me. Well, turns out my grandmother actually raised me while she was out partying and living her life. At around the age of 5, I never saw my father or his family again. My mother got remarried to a wealthy man when I was 6 years old. I never liked him and he didn't want much to do with me, but I went to live with them instead of my grandmother. He adopted me, and I even had to take his last name. He was always verbally and physically abusive to my mother, but she stayed because she liked the money and the lifestyle. A couple of years later, when I was 8, they had a daughter, and 2 years after that a son. They were the light and joy of my parents' life, while I was the one that was always blamed for all the problems. They would be taken on family trips, spoiled to death and doted on, while I was left home to fend for myself, dropped off at my grandmother's home, and I was always the reason for any problems in the house, even if I had nothing to do with any of it. I moved out when I was 17, but the division of how I was treated versus my siblings just kept growing. I wasn't an angel, but I never got in trouble as kid, worked to buy my own first car, paid all my own bills, cell phones, car insurance. They would always tell me they weren't a bank and I had to figure it out on my own. My siblings were horrible in their teens and 20s, drugs, hospitalizations for alcohol poisoning, street racing cars, car accidents and tickets, DUIs, secret marriages, children with multiple fathers, no respect, always screaming back and yelling. They were nasty. But they were given Mercedes vehicles, cell phones, rent paid for even now, bought businesses, vacations, golf course memberships, unlimited Visa cards, all bills paid for, extravagant Christmases and birthdays, etc., etc., etc. This list goes on. It's like the worse they were, the more they were rewarded. When I met my now wife, Jill, she encouraged me to rebuild the relationship with my family. At the time, I was building hours to be a commercial airline pilot, but wanted a more stable job, so my stepfather said I could work for him. He paid me minimum wage, not enough to support myself or even pay bills. But he told Jill's father that he was getting me ready to take over the family business, so I stuck with it. About 3 years into working with them, me and Jill were married at this point. My mom called me and said, "We sold the family business, so you no longer have a job." I was shocked. They had lied to me for years, even creating a business plan and lying to my in-laws. It was around the same time that my car broke down, and I was thousands in debt from working for next to nothing for them. I asked if they would loan me money to buy a new car, and my stepdad told me, "I've told you before, and I'm telling you now, I'm not an FING bank." Jill and I picked up and left the city and moved to where her family lived. I found work in construction and she found a new job. At least we were around people who supported us. We stopped communicating with my family as much, but still saw them from time to time. It was strained though. My wife and I bought a small, modest home a month later. My parents gave us $20,000 to build a garage, which we really appreciated. I did drive to their house a few months later to pick up some of my things from the house they were selling. My mom had told me that they were going to use the proceeds from the $2 million childhood home sale to help buy me, my sister, and my brother our first homes, so I was still wondering if we'd be able to get any more help. When I drove up to the driveway, my parents wouldn't stop talking about the brand new truck they had just bought my little brother and all the tools they were buying him for trade school. I was so hurt. The relationship was super strained over the next 5 years. My sister and brother were the only thing they seemed to care about, and the more distance I had from them, the less upset and angry I was on a day-to-day basis. I still hung out with my brother and his wife here and there, but their life was so different from ours. They never paid rent, insurance, car bills, vet bills, grocery bills. They were young in their careers but could take 2 months in Europe, train at top gyms every day, and had $40,000 per year golf memberships. My sister was bought a business by my parents in a large city which my parents supported to keep her going. They rented her and her boyfriend's homes, groceries, etc. It was never-ending, so it was hard to see them. We went on to have 2 children, which my parents only met 5 years later at a wedding. My mother told me after, there is no way I could love them and they could love me the way a grandmother should anymore. When I found out that my brother was gifted $1 million house, I emailed my mother and told her I never wanted to hear from her again. That she never loved me the same way she loved them, and that I was never treated fair. She tried gaslighting me, as she always did, and I cut her out. My brother will no longer talk to me. He refuses to hear my side of the story and tells me that I've ruined my mother's life. AITA.